Ich grüße euch. Heute schauen wir uns zusammen Total War Pharaoh Death Day 1 an. Und ich würde sagen, los geht's.
In Total War Pharaoh, just like in any other Total War, we have settlements. But in our game, we introduce a new feature
Ein Total War ohne Siedlungen, das wäre doch mal was.
called outposts. We have 7 different types of outposts which the player can construct.
Okay, also es geht jetzt um die verschiedenen Außenposten, die man hier auch ausbauen kann. Und die gibt es in 4 verschiedenen Versionen, wie ich sehe.
They vary from military outposts to economic outposts and are designed to help the player in different situations. For example, one of the most interesting outposts that we have is the fort. Once constructed on the map, the player can move in with their armies there and protect a certain territory. Another interesting example of an outpost is the monument. It is very much connected with the ability of the player to claim the pharaoh crown. In order to be able to become a pharaoh, the player needs to gain enough legitimacy. Monuments are one of the ways the player can do that. They need to construct them across the land, promote their brand, and by that they can
Ja, ich hoffe, dass man diese Denkmäler dann auch entsprechend genug sieht, ja.
further down the line claim the crown. Another interesting outpost will allow the player to be immune for some time from the perils of the desert. In Egypt there is a lot of sand and sometimes traveling across the desert is important.
In Ägypten gibt es viel Sand. Das war ein schöner Satz.
So such outposts will help the player not to lose.
Oh, guck mal, und hier haben wir jetzt so einen Außenposten. Gab es, ich weiß nicht, gab es die wirklich so krass damals schon in der Bronzezeit? Schreib's gerne mal in die Kommentare, ich habe irgendwie meine Zweifel.
The majority of their army while traveling. Another outpost will help the player with the upkeep of the army.
Weniger Unterhalt ist immer gut.
Yet another outpost will help the player with the production of their regions. As we plan the game, we wanted to make sure that a successful playthrough will include a combination of outposts and buildings in the settlement in order for the player to succeed.
For Total War Pharaoh, we're bringing match combat animations back. They will be played by individual entities from each unit. The animations are weapon specific, so when an entity attacks another entity,
Waffenspezifische Animation, finde ich, klingt sehr gut, aber ob das jetzt bei denen wirklich neu ist, das weiß ich nicht. Das könnte auch schon in anderen Teilen gegeben haben.
defending entity will not just play a random defend animation, it will play a specific animation depending on the weapon attacking it. So there's quite a large number
Also zumindest bei den historischen jetzt.
of animations going to be played, which will immensely help with immersing the player to the actual battle and the gruesome details of it.
For Total War Pharaoh, we are reworking sieges by adding multiple victory points. What that means is essentially that every single victory point in the city matters. You do not gain points as it was before by capturing a single victory point. You have to capture multiple to start winning. If you're on the attacking side and you manage to capture one of the victory points, that means that you will get debuffs that are specific for this victory point.
Ja, also das mit den Siegpunkten ist genauso wie bei Warhammer jetzt auch.
The more you capture the settlement, let's say you capture a second victory point, then the defender starts losing morale because they're losing their city. And if you capture all 3 of the victory
Das ist jetzt nichts Neues.
points, you have essentially captured the whole city, meaning that the defenders' morale starts plummeting because they have lost their home. Another thing that we're adding for the sieges is bringing back siege ladders as being equipment instead of having them in your pocket. What that means
Anstatt sie in der Tasche zu haben, das sagen jetzt sogar die Entwickler selber schon. Okay.
is that you have to construct them prior to a battle, as with other siege equipment. Another siege equipment that we're adding is wall sapping, which basically means with enough time to prepare, you can destroy one of the walls before starting the battle. Another thing that we're adding is settlement destruction, which means you can burn down a settlement. The more you burn down a settlement, the more penalties the defender takes. But do be careful how much you
Also die Mauern, die konnte man auch schon vorher zerstören, bevor die Schlachten beginnen. Wie genau habe ich jetzt gerade nicht so schnell lesen können.
burn down the settlement, because if you manage to win and colonize the settlement, the repair bill is way higher.
Total War Pharaoh
Ja, ich meine, dass die Reparaturkosten höher sind, wenn man alles abfackelt, das ist, denke ich mal, klar.
starts with some of the leaders already in place. For
Also die tun hier so irgendwie, als ob das alles... Na, schauen wir weiter.
the Hittites, this is Suppiluliuma II, who you can play as, and for the Egyptians, this is of course Merneptah. For all other factions, you will first have to demonstrate your worthiness. This is done by accumulating first enough legitimacy, and then by challenging the pharaoh or the great king himself in a bloody civil war where all factions will have to choose between defending the supreme leader in place or becoming a pretender themselves and try to grab the throne. Legitimacy is the key resource that will
Und das mit der Legitimität, das finde ich eigentlich super.
allow you to start and win a civil war. It is a sort of representation of how the people measure the worthiness of a leader in that time. And it is also what historians would call symbols of power and order. There are different sources of legitimacy, and each one will allow you to win the civil war using different strategies. These are, for example, conquering lands of significant importance for your people, to capturing places of interests, such as
Ja, wisst ihr, was ich hoffe? Dass man eigene große Wunder bauen kann, wie zum Beispiel jetzt irgendwelche Pyramiden und dass sie dann auch auf der Kampagne-Map wirklich zu sehen sind. Das wäre doch mal wirklich was Geiles.
the Sphinx or the pyramids, to building monuments for your people, and even wearing certain crowns. In the case of the more military-oriented Hittites, you can also accumulate legitimacy by engaging in battles. The tougher the odds of the battles, and the bigger the enemy vanquished, and the more legitimacy you will earn. And this is the main way you earn legitimacy for Hittites. However, there's a downside. If you lose these battles, most probably the victor of that battle will be able to challenge you in a new civil war in an attempt to become the new great king.
In Total War Pharaoh, characters
Also am besten keine Schlachten verlieren.
progress through your campaign by leveling up, and as they level up, you can choose to increase one of their competences. Each character has 3 competences. These are Presence, Fortitude, and Ardor.
Was war das dritte? Das habe ich jetzt nicht so schnell lesen können. Präsenz, Standhaftigkeit und...
Fortitude and Ardor, and all of these
so, and
reflect a
Eifer,
different
okay.
aspect of what it is to be a Bronze Age general or a politician. Presence. It shows how capable you are of inspiring the men around you as they fight. The second one is Fortitude. It represents how well you can withstand harm, both in battle or outside of battle. And finally, you have Ardor. This shows how quickly you can react and how quickly you can make decisions, again, both in the battlefield and outside of it. As you level these up, you gain gameplay effects. Presence increases the offensive capabilities of your armies, Fortitude increases the defensive capabilities of your armies, and Ardor increases the speed of movement, both in battle or in campaign. Competences have another very important aspect because they are prerequisite for titles. And titles are these special names that
Also in diese 3 Richtungen kann man dann wohl scalen. So, und jetzt geht es um die Voraussetzungen für Titel. Schauen wir mal weiter.
you can assign to your character. For example, if you want to assign the title Master of Charioteers to one of your characters, you will need to have a certain amount of ardor in order for this character to take the title for themselves. You can assign the titles to an unlimited amount of characters. Each faction has a bespoke variety of titles that they can
Das ist doch... Ist das nicht dieselbe Mechanik wie bei den Ogern mit den Titeln?
use. Competences are also dependent on the character background. It's a special trait for your character that comes along with the character as you recruit them, and it affects both the initial distribution of competence points for your character and also the kind of traits that the character has access to. If a character is, let's say, bloodthirsty warrior, and this is their background, they will likely gain the trait cruel and not that likely to gain the trait merciful. In addition to that, the ancillaries have been a core part of many Total War titles. They will be easily recognized by any of the veteran players, but we're doing something new in Total War Pharaoh. We are adding an equipment type of ancillary. These are your weapons, your armor, shields, and mounts. In most cases, this is the Bronze Age, so the mount is a chariot.
Also ihr könnt euren Kommandanten Gegenstände und Reittiere geben,
But as you equip different types of these ancillaries,
beziehungsweise Streitwagen.
you will get a different unit as a bodyguard unit for your character. If you begin with having a sword in your inventory, if you equip the sword, you will get a unit of swordsmen. If you switch that sword with a spear, you will
Aber wenn man ihm ein Schwert gibt, dann bekommt er auch Schwertkämpfer, okay.
get a unit of spearmen. Of course, putting a bow over
Und ein Speer, eine Einheit Speerkämpfer. Oh, bei Bogen natürlich, Bogenschützen
there
wird
will
er jetzt
grant you
sagen.
access to ranged units. You can put them on a chariot
Achso, Fernkampfeinheiten.
and have a swiftly riding archer unit as your general. Also, it allows you to adapt to any situation that might arise in your campaign.
Na gut, dadurch kann man sich da wirklich ein bisschen flexibler anpassen. Je nachdem, was für eine Waffe man ihm dann gibt. Er hätte dann natürlich auch dementsprechend die Einheiten dazu, ne? Gut. Ja, das ist jetzt hier zu Ende, ne? Ja. Das Video hat mir besser gefallen als das letzte, muss ich sagen. Und ja, ich bin weiterhin gespannt, was wir erleben werden mit Total War Pharaoh. Und dann sehen wir uns wieder im nächsten Video oder im Livestream.